This video is discussing Normal People by Sally Rooney. This is my first Sally Rooney book, and I've seen this book everywhere. I recently thrifted it. This book was released in 2018, so I'm maybe a little bit late to the game. A quick synopsis of the book. The back sounds really adorable. So it says Connell and Marianne grew up in the same small town, but the similarities end there. At school, Connell is popular and well liked, while Marianne is a loner. But when the two strike up a conversation, awkward but electrifying, something life-changing begins. Normal People is the story of mutual fascination, friendship, and love. So reading that, it makes me just feel like it's going to be like any other romance book, but it is not. There is way more depth to it than a typical romance, and it's just like is not a happy-go-lucky feeling when you finish it. The back of the book is short and sweet, but to give you a little bit more background information, Connell's mom worked for Marianne's mom. She cleans their house, and so Connell will go over to Marianne's house to pick up his mom from her cleaning shift. Besides that, they obviously know each other from school. The book starts in high school and goes all through college. One thing I found fun that's maybe a little bit non-traditional from other books is that at the top it says how much time has passed, but it's never like 1 month. It's always going to surprise you. So here it's 2 months, here it's 6 weeks later, here it's 6 months later. So I like that about the book because let's just say something happens and it's kind of annoying. Then you fast forward and you're like, oh, well, characters have already worked through that. Now we are 8 months into the future. For how short of a book this is, I felt extremely connected to the characters. I think usually I need a book to be like 400 pages for me to feel like I've lived with the characters or like I know them extremely well. But this book does that in, I think, in under 300 pages. This is one of those books where I feel like I can almost read it immediately because I would pick up so much more on the dynamics of their relationship. And also this book talks about social economic differences, so I think I would notice some of that more as well. And I also would love to watch the show on Hulu. I was actually looking yesterday to see how much a Hulu subscription is because I haven't had Hulu in a while. Now, hopefully I've convinced you to read the book. I know this book can be a bit polarizing. It seems like people either hate it, or love it. Now let's discuss just a few quotes. I feel like this book had so many quotes, and I'm really inconsistent about highlighting them, but here are a few that I connected with. This quote, I think, highlights the characters and how deep their relationship is. When he talks to Marianne, he has a sense of total privacy between them. He could tell her anything about himself, even weird things, and she would never repeat them. He knows that. The next one that I highlighted is because I think that I related to it in regards to high school. Like my senior year of high school, I was so over it, and so when I read this quote, I was like, I can connect to that. Marianne is talking about school. She says, it seems so obviously insane to her then that she should have to dress up in a costume every morning and be herded around a huge building all day, and that she wasn't even allowed to move her eyes where she wanted. Even her eye movements fell under the jurisdiction of school rules. You're not learning if you're staring out the window, daydreaming, Mr. Kerrigan said. In school, I feel like there are so many rules, and the fact that she said that eye movements were under jurisdiction of the school, I loved that. In my senior year of high school, I would sneak out during lunch. I went to an extremely small school, so they were very strict, and I would sneak out this one door that was always unlocked and eat my lunch by myself outside in the sun. That was the main thing. I wanted to be in the sun. I didn't care to eat with my friends. I just needed like that little ounce of freedom. Next up, quote number 3 that I highlighted says, could he really do the gruesome things he does to her and believe at the same time that he's acting out of love? Is the world such an evil place that love should be indistinguishable from the basest and most abusive forms of violence? I liked that one because I feel like people often will like masquerade love and they'll do things that definitely are not acting out of love. So I like that the author includes something along those lines because, spoiler alert, Marianne is treated really poorly by everyone in her life. Last quote I'm going to highlight. In this scene, Connell is just feeling low and he's trying to decide basically if he should like move himself off the floor into his bed or if he should just stay on the floor. And he says, is life so much worse here than it would be on the bed or even in a totally different location? No, life is exactly the same. Life is the thing you bring with you inside your own head. I loved that. Enough of quotes, even though I think there are way more than what I highlighted, because this book really makes you think. This little segment is just going to be random thoughts that I thought about this book, and this will include some spoilers, I think. So just if you have not read this book yet, spoilers, pause this segment and skip to the next one. Like I mentioned, the characters are so vivid, and even though the novel was short, I still connected with them so much. However, I do not want to read more about them. I do not need a sequel because the ending, I think the ending for me meant that these characters were never going to communicate differently, and that's my biggest disappointment in the book. The last sentence in this book, if one word was changed, I would feel hopeful, and I would think that these characters are finally going to be together and they're going to be best friends and lovers and they are going to have a lasting love. But if you remember, so Connell says, "To be honest, I don't know what to do. Say you want me to stay and I will." And what does she say? "You should go," she says. "I'll always be here. You know that." She should have said, "You shouldn't go. I'll always be here. And you should be here with me." So that's my absolute biggest complaint about the book. And I felt this way in other books. I hate when characters start the book in one place and then end the book. I felt that way about Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I can't remember the guy's name, and I believe the main character's name was Sadie, because that's my name. The only reason I remember. The way they communicated in the start of the book is how it is in the end, and I just find that so disappointing. My next thought, I wrote down on page 199, I feel terrible for Marianne because she's treated poorly by everyone. Like, if you write down everyone who treats her poorly, she has, her dad was abusive, then he passed away. Her brother is abusive, physically and mentally. Her mom's verbally abusive. Connell is her closest friend, but he makes her insecure and treats her poorly often. And I don't even think he always means to, but he's so terrified to like feel his feelings. And then on top of that, any guy that she's a fling with or any of the boyfriends in this book, they all treat her bad. I think those are my main takeaways. I guess I don't have as many as I thought I did. If I was going to describe normal people in one sentence, it would probably be, this book made me feel sad that humans can think so poorly of themselves. I maybe need to reword that and actually think about it longer, but I think when I finished this book, I just felt sad. Sad for Marianne the most, but also Connell. Like, neither one of them thought very highly of themselves and they judged themselves. I just thought it was sad that they thought so lowly of themselves and that like they did not treat themselves with kindness. This is going to conclude my review of Normal People. Let me know if there's a different book I should review or something I should include in my reviews, because this is the first time I've done it just for one book. I would read another Sally Rooney book. I own one other one that I thrifted, Conversations with Friends. I watched some videos where people reviewed her books, and I feel like Conversations with Friends is one of the least liked, but it's just the other one that I own. I hope you liked watching. Don't come for me if you hated my review or if you hated this book. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in another video.